Welcome to a tutorial on the intro to macroeconomics. And to start off, we're going to discuss why it is important to have economic knowledge in today's society, whether you're in business or industry or pretty much in any other field. Everything is affected by economics and the decisions made politically, from a fiscal standpoint, monetary policy. All sorts of things affect our economy and the way things work. So it is very important to have an understanding of economics. Questions that economic studies answer, and theories of economics answer or attempt to answer would be, what's the best country to work in? What's the best country to open up a plant or manufacturing business? What's the best country to expand to? Will we be competing with immigrant workers in the U.S. in the future? The effect of deficits on the government and on households as a whole in a society. Changes in interest rates, whether they have positive or negative effects on the take-home pay of the consumer, and a bunch of other questions that are covered in economics, a lot of business questions. And these answers help businesses and individuals decide on what to buy and the kind of decisions they need to make. So what is economics? Economics defined is the study of the choices consumers, business managers, and governmental officials make to attain their goals, given their scarce resources. And the scarce resources is kind of the key part that leads to supply and demand. Supply and demand is based on scarcity, which is our wants are unlimited while the resources needed to fulfill those wants are limited. So as a society as a whole, everybody wants a certain thing, wants a certain amount, and that's never ending. But the resources to meet everyone's wants is limited, and that's what creates the supply and demand part of economics, which is one of the key factors behind theories in economics. Economic models are simplified versions of reality used to analyze real-world economic situations. Economics mainly displays information from a graphical standpoint. They use a lot of charts, a lot of graphs to show changes from policies and from decisions, maybe changes in interest rates and how they would affect different spending patterns and different policies. So that's one of the main ways economics views decision making from a global standpoint. Three ideas to know about economics would be that economics looks from a market standpoint, and a market is a group of buyers and sellers of a good or service, and the institution or arrangement by which they come together to trade. And when looking at a market standpoint, they take three factors into consideration. 1, people are rational. 2, people respond to economic incentives. And 3, optimal decisions are made at the margin. Whenever they take these three factors into consideration, these are the main ideas behind the theories of economics whenever deciding on statistical measures or on any sort of measure of the economy that would be made for any sort of decision making or analysis. So whether people are rational or not, that might not always be true, but from an economic standpoint, they take it as it is true whenever factoring it into their measurements. So are people really rational? And assumptions economists make would be: economics assumes that decisions are made by people who have used all available information as they act to achieve their goals. It also assumes that rational individuals are the decision makers who compare the costs and benefits associated with each action that they are faced with. So not every consumer is rational. Rational consumers would be the ones who research the vehicle before they go buy it to see if it's smart to purchase the vehicle based on the fuel efficiency, or whether it's had any mechanical issues, or if they can afford it financially, once they're presented with all that information, they can make an actual educated decision. But then an example of somebody acting non-rationally would be somebody purchasing an impulse buy. Whenever you go to the store and there's the rack of products right next to the cash register, that just out of instinct a person would purchase something off of that rack right before leaving. They don't weigh out the cost benefit of the items that they're purchasing. So that's more of an example of somebody acting non-rationally. But economics doesn't take that factor into consideration. It says that everybody acts rationally according to the measures that are used. People responding to economic incentives is based on the fact that people act upon many different factors and behavior, including religion, anger, envy, and compassion. Economic incentives can help control these factors and how people behave and their purchasing habits according to these factors. Examples of economic incentives would be tax credits on a certain kind of behavior, and then higher taxes on a different kind of behavior. The government may not want you to gamble, so they tax your gambling profits, but then they may want you to purchase a house, so they'll give you tax credits if you purchase a house this year. So those could be economic incentives to persuade you to act in one way or another with your purchasing habits. Economics uses margin. Margin is used in economics to represent the one extra or one unit in addition to. And when taking this into consideration, economics looks at an activity or an action as of, if you do one more unit of that action, are you gaining or are you losing something? This is actually referred to as marginal analysis, and the way this is used is it better for me to stay at work an extra hour or to leave work and go meet with friends for an extra hour at a restaurant? You have to weigh out the cost and the benefits of each action that you make. And the way this is looked at in economics is economics uses the principle that an action should continue as long as the marginal benefit outweighs the marginal cost associated with the action. So this would be the break-even point. The marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. You're not losing anything, but you're not gaining anything either. And it's at this point that whatever action or activity you're pursuing would not benefit any longer. So according to economic theory, this is where you should cease to partake in that activity. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and check out our other economic tutorial videos.